Okay, I'm going to be making one of my leaders today. Here are the components that I'll be using, and I'll go over each one separately. Starting off with the cable, the crimps, and the crimper. That's 49 strand 480 cable, AFW. The sleeves are the 10F8, or you can use these Bill Fisher 1.9 millimeter that are much cheaper and a lot softer and easier to work with. And the crimpers is just a little handheld one. That's $25. That's 12 years ago. I think they're probably about 35 or 40 bucks now. For hooks, we're going to be using the center hook, which is a 13-0 L204 Eagle Claw hook, which I'm going to try. My nephew gave it to me. It's a little big. I think it's going to work better for the bluefish chunks. On the left is my 10-0 Super Mutu, and I use a lot of 9-0 Super Mutus, which all the big sharks this year were caught on the 9-0 Super Mutus, except for the spinner shark, which was caught on the gorilla hook, the bottom hook of a double hook rig. And the far right hook is an 11-0 L204 Eagle Claw hook. For the sinker portion of the rig, I need two 8mm plastic beads, the Malin sleeves for their 60 to 90 pound coated wire, but they fit perfectly over top of the 480 cable, and I use that to peg the sinker so it doesn't move, and I use a 200-pound snap. Remember, this part is already done. It's a 370-pound Spro power swivel. I cut this partial to the leader off, part of the leader off from another rig, so that part's already done. I'm going to start off with the sinker clip. I do that first. I get it on there, but I don't crimp it. The beads are in there, so that's what it's going to look like when I peg it. What I'm going to do, take the crimpers, and I'm going to close that just a little bit, just a tiny bit. I'm going to crimp that. I want to try to get that end kind of hidden so it doesn't stick out, but that's the problem. Sometimes that's a little hard to do. Okay, I'm going to crimp that. And what I do is come down on one side, then take the crimpers and flip it over and come back to the other side. Now, unlike the mono, when I crimp it, the 480 cable is so powerful that you don't have to worry about crimping it all the way to the edge. You just crimp the hell out of that thing. My hands are gonna hurt. Normally you're not supposed to crimp it all the way to the edge, but I'm telling you, with the 480 cable, it doesn't matter. So that's pretty good. That's sticking out. Sometimes I put some bat tape or something. I don't have any now. They are not taking that out. That looks pretty good. You don't want to make the loop too big or too small. That's about right. So now I do the peg portion of the leader. Usually she helps me with this. So 10 inches to the bottom of the loop, to the bottom of that sleeve. Okay, that'll peg it. So that's 10 inches to the bottom of the loop, to the bottom of that sleeve. Now these, you don't want to crimp too hard. You just want to lightly crimp them. They'll grip that cable because it's really rough. Some people might think that the sinker is too close to the hook. Never worry about it. you can throw these rigs a long way with the sinker down low and with it pegged. Just a light crimp. You don't want to do too much. Or you'll damage the cable. So that will keep it from sliding up and down. And now you want to pinch the other one. You want to get it snug up there tight. Give it that first one. So the sinker, as it comes by, it'll kind of wear on the thing. It'll move side to side. It'll wear the beads down some. Just a little tight. And the sinker will not slide. So there you go. Then to get the measurement to the bottom, it is exactly 10 inches from the bottom of that sleeve to that. This is an 8-ounce sinker, so just for an example, these clips are very tough. So all of my rigs are basically, I've ran some 9 inches, some even 8, for the sinker to be lower to get a better cast. Usually when it's in the water, especially if there's current, the rig would be in the water, something like that. The sinker holding it and the bait would go. So you can throw these rigs a long way because it's pegged. If the sinker slides, it'll move when you cast. It'll take away your casting distance. When I measure my leaders, I do not count the hook or the swivels. So I go just to the cable part. That's all I count. And there you go. That thing's done. But I have to put my split ring in. This is a Spro 255-pound power split ring. You can use the 185s I use on some of the smaller ones. Okay. So there's the rig. Then I clip that to my leaders, which I'm going to show you. These are Texas Tackle split ring pliers. This is a large size. If you run a system like this, it's unbelievable. These things are really, really, really good. Okay, so what the twisted leader is 15 foot of the mono. Then I hook it on a loop on a door and then twist it all the way down. And that makes, the 15 foot will make a 7 foot twisted mono leader. That's 60-pound My diamond line. So it's the equivalent of about, abrasion resistance wise, 130, maybe even 150 mono, because it's the two 60-pound lines twisted together. I use a 380 heavy swivel. Which is what I use with the clips. Okay, I use these stoppers so you don't run the line up and ruin your guides. I use a 200-pound aluminum sleeve. Okay, that's through. You want to make sure it is the smooth portion, not the ones you've been using on. Okay, a little tough to get through there. Now this is totally different than doing the 480 cable. Okay, then what I like to do, I found with the fan going, that's kind of hard. Kind of mushroom bulb the end of that thing. Does it stop the fish from pulling it in? I don't really, but it will help you crimp the leader better, at least. Now you can pull this down and it will help you get the leader crimped a little better. Now this is different than the 480 cable. This must be done right. See, the melted part is stopping it from being pulled back again. Is it going to stop it from being pulled through there on a really big fish? I don't think so. I don't know. Working with the mono, you want to make sure the ends are flared out, which I believe that is. You want to leave that end in there, so hit that. Then I flip it, go to the other side, leave that little bit of edge out. I think that's about right. And then hit that, and then there. Now, you do not want to bring these sleeves on the mono to the end. You want to leave it flared like that. That's pretty good. Now, because it's 60-pound line twisted, so there's actually 2 strands in there. You're not going to have it pull it at the crotch. That's basically impossible for the fish we're fishing for. But what I do to make sure you don't want to over crimp because you weaken the mono. It's probably good like that, but what I do is I go down 1 notch. And I do just a little bit more. I don't want to over tighten it because it weakens the mono. Looks pretty good. Okay, so then what I did off camera is I filed down the sharp edges on that aluminum crimp, and I put electrical tape over it because we feed this in and out of the rods. You take the stopper, pull it back, this will go through the guides, but when you put it back down, it will stop at the guide, and it will protect your guides from getting cracked, because once you use this system, you're used to reeling the leader into your rod. So you can take any of these leaders. It's easier when I'm standing up. It only takes a second. And you can now put it together. So now the 7-foot twisty is attached to the 30-inch gorilla hook rig. And it's the same for all the rigs I got. And what happened on the big blacktip spinner thing is I was going to attach a 4-foot leader, and I did not. And I think that would have made the difference. This is attached with a loop-to-loop knot. Here's a loop in the braid, made with a 5-turn surgeon loop on the solid line, and then super glued the knot. But just to show you how it's attached. Now, if it's a hollow core, you make a loop in the hollow core, there's no little knot, and it's very smooth. But I told you that line twist, and I would not recommend it. And I got that on several of my reels, too. So you would do a loop-to-loop. You pull this when you get, because you do it 5 times, and that's called a cat's paw knot. So then what that does, that comes down for like a loop. This is 5 times through, and when you tighten it, and that's what it looks like. Now, when you catch a shark on it, this thing goes down, it tightens it and pinches it all the way down to where it's super tiny. But that's a cat's paw knot with a 5-turn surgeon loop with the super glue on the knot.